Baddies! Grunts, Boss, SweetBananaGaming here with the return of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team. And first off, I would just like to say, I'm so sorry to keep you guys waiting, those of you who have been watching this series, and I do appreciate you guys. But I do want to apologize. And I have, well, you guys knew I was going out of town and I wasn't able to record anything in advance for while I was gone. But I have a little bit more of a story, if you haven't followed me on my Discord server. I have a little bit more of a story to tell you, and I'm gonna do that in a moment, because first, I want to kind of get my bearings here. I want to make sure, I'm all set. Let's see. Let's take this one. Let me look at my job list here. Where do I want to go? Silent Chasm. Let's do Silent Chasm, and, I think that's a decent... That should be a decent, like, kind of a high-level, thing. Alright, let me get info here. We have to help Farfetch'd, and... So, the best thing, we have to escort Glalie. I guess we'll be alright with that. I wanted to make sure that none of these, quests, jobs, whatever that... Oops, no, I wanted to keep aside here. I want to make sure that none of these quests involve delivering an item, because I can't seem to do that properly. I don't... Sometimes you're supposed to be able to find the item while you're questing. And did I go in? I feel like I went in... I'm gonna organize my items. Then when we get going in the dungeon, I'll talk about where I've been and everything. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. I had to be a mistake. Yeah, I'm good, Kangaskhan. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna store some things, if you don't mind. I don't really need these. I'll hold on. Stamina band's alright, but no, I'm just gonna deposit these for now, keep it simple. And you know what? I want to save a max elixir or two, and a couple of oran berries. I can manage. This shouldn't be as hard as, you know, major story dungeons, so I'll be alright. Oh, let me sort my items. There we go. I think that's alright. Do I want to, I don't know if I want to deposit more. Let's see if I want to buy anything more. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're sorry. You better be sorry. Everybody, you know, in the last episode, we haven't been here in a while, of course. In the last episode, we got our name cleared at last. We met Ninetales. And, you know, she basically cleared our name. We're not a terrible person. We are not the evil person who, ooh, speeds up, HP regeneration. I want to get one of those. So yeah, we were not the terrible person, the terrible trainer who abandoned Gardevoir, and we're not causing the disaster around the world, so... Basically, yeah, that's that. Wait, no, I don't want to take, I want to store. No, I want to store everything. Alright. Getting reacquainted with the, with these controls as well a little bit. So let me, I guess I can't equip the heal ribbon yet, so, or can I from here? What am I holding? Power band, you're holding power band, you're holding special band. So I'll just give myself the heal ribbon, probably be good for me. I mean, the power band's good too and all, but since I'm the one usually taking the hits in the team, let me put my reviver seed away too, because I don't have any more. Since I'm the one usually taking the hits, I think the heal band would be nice for me. I think it said it slowed down how long it took for my belly. No, I don't want to do Mount Freeze. Can I quit? Can I quit? Especially, can I quit? I forget. Isn't there a way to give up? Others. Give up. Treat it as a defeat, but you know what? I don't care. So we didn't fail Papaya. I mean, we did basically miss the day. But we have to get Asai again. We did technically miss the day, but that was just my bad. See, I'm rusty, guys. It's been a while. It's been, well, you know how long it's been. It's been like 3 weeks, maybe even a month. But everything should be good. I mean, we lost money, but we didn't have any money to lose. Oh, did we lose our items, though? We might have lost... Oh, we might have lost a couple of items, come to think of it. That kind of stinks. Oh, we lost our Graveler. You know what? You know what, guys? No, I don't want to restart, though. I don't want to restart because then I have to go through the whole sorting of items thing again. So, you know what? We're gonna just, we're gonna take, do we have Iron Thorn and Graveler Rock? We're gonna take our Graveler Rocks. You know what? It stinks, but I'd rather, you know, my carelessness, I would rather do that than start over this episode. Just makes me look salty, and I don't want to start recording over again for sure. Alright, Silent Chasm is where we want to go. So we have to slow everything down. There we go. Okay, now, story time. Okay, so as you guys know, I mentioned, and we have to escort Glalie, so we have to be careful. I really wish you could double check on your job as you progress. Let's take the quick path through here, because it's going to tell us when we get to a destination floor. So yeah, I was away for about 2 weeks. I was in China at the World Roller Skating Championships, and for those of you who don't know, I've mentioned it a couple times. I don't know how much I've mentioned it on Team Eclipse, but I have mentioned on my main channel before, I do artistic roller skating competitively at the world level. Been doing it for quite some time. My parents own a skating rink, and you know, still live there and train there, and my parents are former national champion skaters and world champion coaches, so blah blah blah, it's in my lineage a bit. So, I went to China for the World Roller Skating Championships, and this was actually interesting. I might as well do story time for this episode. It's interesting because this is the first time, there's many different roller sports that compete around the world. So like, you have artistic skating, which if you've seen figure skating on ice, it's basically similar to that. We have the similar disciplines. We still do the school figures or compulsory figures as they're called, where you go around the circle and you trace, like on ice skates, your blade actually traces a circle on the rink, on the ice, and you're evaluated based on that. How pure of a circle you make was called an edge. Anyway, without getting too technical, we have that, but we have wheels, so we have a line painted on the floor, and it's quad skates, what most people consider the old-fashioned skates. And I hope Glalie stops using double team, because that's just a waste of time. I don't think you can stack the effect. Anyway, so yeah, we have that. We have free skating, the jumps and the spins. Then we have what I do, which is dance. Now, as far as the world level goes, ice dance only comes in the team/couples dance variety with 2 partners, and but we have a solo dance that competes at the world level in roller skating, and that is what I do. I've done team dance before as well when I could have a partner, but male skating partners nowadays, especially in the US, are pretty hard to come by, so I am a solo dance skater. So anyway, I competed at the World Championships, and this time around, it was the World Roller Games, which means all the different disciplines of competitive roller skating, which artistic, which I just explained, speed skating, which is the same as speed skating on ice, you race around a track, and hockey, roller derby. There are some things that I actually hadn't heard of before, like alpine, which seems similar to downhill skiing. I better say, oh my gosh, Glalie is level 1. I need to get rid of this thing. Hold on a second, let me focus. Just a moment. Don't miss. Thank you. Now, just need this Dustox to not do that. I won't be able to switch and get him out of the path in time, so I've just got to try and take him out. So anyway, this was the first year that our governing body for roller sports that encompasses all of these sports that I mentioned, all the ones I mentioned, and then there's one called freestyle, which is this really weird but really cool thing where if you go look it up if you've never heard of it before, but it's basically people wear these inline skates and they have these little plastic cups set up. I don't know exactly what the rules are for how they're arranged and everything like that, but they're set up. Hooray, we finished one of our tasks, but we have one more to go. Alright, so they're set up and they do kind of like a slalom sort of deal, but they go around the cones in interesting patterns, and sometimes it's set to music. I've seen some videos before. That's pretty cool. Anyway, all these roller sports were together in one, not really one venue. We were all separate venues, but no, Weedle, I'm so sorry. I don't want you on my team. You will just die and waste all my Reviver seeds. But yeah. It's all the roller sports together called the World Roller Games, and this is something, I guess, because roller sports, the different areas of roller sports, like artistic and speed especially, and hockey, all kind of had their time. You know what, Papaya? All of our disciplines, a lot of our disciplines have kind of had their time where we thought we had a good shot of getting into the Olympics. We're not an Olympic sport, but we're under the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. There's certain of their rules that we follow. We're one of their sports, kind of. There's a whole, like, subcategory of Olympic sports that don't go to the Olympics, and roller sports would be one of them. Yanma, nah. I don't really need any team members right now. Because really having a team of 4 is a bit cumbersome. I've gone over that before. Now that we don't have to escort Glalie anymore, we'll do a little bit more exploring. So yeah, where was I? So anyway, World Roller Games, and this is something, I guess, that our governing body wants to do to kind of, to join us all together and, put forward a really big grand event as sort of a big push to make it in the Olympics. And this year we held it in Nanjing, China, which was the first time I've ever been to China. I've been to Taiwan 2 separate times for a couple of different world championships, but this is the first time I've ever been to mainland China, so it was an interesting experience, which really it wasn't all that different from Taiwan, other than there were a lot of people in Taiwan too, but there were a lot of people in China. As you might imagine, they have, what, the highest population of any nation in the world? Something like that. They have 1 billion people, and that's like a lowball estimate at this point. Anyway, so the whole decision to put all the roller sports together, it sounded cool, and admittedly, they did have a really awesome opening ceremony, on par with, like, what you might see if you've ever seen an Olympic opening ceremony. It was pretty cool. There were some negative things, though, like, only 1 or 2 athletes from each country got to participate in the little parade where they have all the flags. And imagine this is all the roller sports, so some countries might have had hundreds of skaters, and they only had like 1 or 2 from each country doing the march. So that was kind of a bummer, but the opening ceremony itself was really cool. There were other negative things, I think, about having all the world championships together, such as not all the sports got equal streaming time. So, for example, usually at Worlds, when it's just artistic worlds as one event, every single event, pretty much, is live streamed for free on the internet. But now with all the roller sports together, only select, basically the final rounds of the artistic events were streamed, so which was really disappointing for people who wanted to watch at home, who are really used to always being able to watch for free. And there were other issues with China. I think because of the government, you know, being communists, they had a lot of control. They had control over the organizing committee, which effectively got in the way of our governing body being able to run certain parts of the championships the way they wanted to, which was unfortunate. But probably the worst consequence of that, at least from my point of view, is that a lot of vendors, pretty much no vendors came. Usually vendors will come, like skate companies, like the boot companies and wheel companies, you know, skate equipment companies will come, and related sort of vendors. They'll come and, you know, sell their wares because there's a bunch of skaters all in one place. They usually do pretty good business, but I guess there were some restrictions in China. They weren't allowed to, I don't know if it was they weren't allowed to make any money or there was only so much money that they were allowed to make. But the end result is none of the vendors came, except for one, the Action Shots photographer, which was really nice because he does really good work, so it was nice that he could still come. The negative, though, was usually professional DVDs are made of the events, of all the events, and, you know, usually I buy my event and a couple other events that, you know, were particularly memorable that I want to have just a record of. And you know, other people take them and, you know, sometimes post them on YouTube, which isn't necessarily the legal thing, but it's kind of cool, you know, they get around, you can see everything. And, you know, for the athlete point of view, my event might be going on at a certain time, and I have to prepare ahead of time, so I don't get to see necessarily all of the other events that I want to see. Well, one of the vendors, obviously the only vendor that came was the action shot photographer, so the DVD people didn't come, so nobody could get any DVDs of anything, which was kind of sad. It was disappointing, for sure. Probably the most disappointing part for me. It's sad because other parts of how it was organized was okay. A big problem with World Championships, usually at roller skating, at least for the artistic end of it. I don't know about any of the other ones, but a big problem is usually the quality of the skating floor, which makes a difference. Basically, the amount of traction you have, whether a floor is tight or slippery, or, you know, sticky or slippery, and or fast or slow. And the floor this year, usually the floor is slippery and slow. Well, this year the floor was slow. However, it was tight. It wasn't slippery, which is, at least for what I do for dance, probably one of the worst things you can have is a slippery floor. Having a slow floor isn't ideal either, but the floor was small too. Floors at Worlds tend to be smaller than even regulation size. But anyway, all that being said, it was kind of okay that the floor was a little slow. Because the floor was small. So it was tight though. The floor was not slippery, which to me, I've been going to Worlds, this is my 11th Worlds skating, something like that. I believe it's my 11th Worlds skating, unless I kept it. There was one year that I didn't go, but I think this was my 11th Worlds skating, and you know, the single worst thing from my experience from the skating point of view is if the floor is too slippery, and it wasn't. It was nice and tight. So, you know what? On that aspect, I was pretty satisfied. Yeah, so anyway, all that, I guess before I move on to the rest of my story about why I don't have I didn't have any episodes for you guys, I might as well mention how I did. So I got 6th place in my event, which is an improvement over last year, without getting too into the whole, like, politics of skating, because, you know, it's a sport with technical guidelines, but ultimately there's subjectivity, because it's pretty much you just, there's a panel of judges and they give their scores, which is something that ice skating got in trouble with for years. Like, in that instance, they had evidence of, in ice, they had evidence of judges colluding and being bribed or what have you. So, like, because ice goes to the Olympics, they were prompted by the Olympic Committee. I think gymnastics had sort of the same thing, like, hey, you better get this in line. So, you better get this in line. So they said, all right, we're going to change our judging system, which gymnastics has done as well. Like, this was years ago that this even happened. So finally, roller skating, I think as a part of the desire to make the Olympics, roller is kind of starting to get on board with that. A system very, very inspired by and similar to the system that ice uses. I guess I'll do Mount Steel today. Very similar to what ice uses, and there's debate on whether it's a great system or not, but I think ultimately, at least for dance, it will be better than what we've... oh, you know what? I don't think I put the heel... I lost the heel band too, didn't I? I think I did. You know what? That stinks. That stinks, that stinks, that stinks, that stinks. Oh well. I completely forgot about that until just now. Anyway. There'll be pros and cons to the new judging system, but I think in the end, at least compared to where we are right now, it'll be good. It'll be better for the skaters because there'll be a little bit more, skaters will have a little bit more explanation for the results. Whether you agree with the results or not, still, they could still come out what you see as wrong, but at least there will be in writing a write-up and the way the score sheets go, it's a little bit hard to understand if you don't know the system, but you get a breakdown of everything in your program, and so it's easier to understand why the results came out the way they did. So I think it'll be a good step forward. Anyway, all that being said, I got 6th this year, which is, I think I could have, I think circumstances, I started a little bit low. If I had done my first round and been scored a little bit higher for it, I think I had a shot at a medal, but it is what it is. So, I did well, I skated my best, and, you know, a lot of people said I did a great job. So that is all I have control over, and that is, I'm happy with that. So anyway, all of that, I've given you guys a whole kind of a crash course on my little, the skating aspect of my world. Oh good, there's another heel ribbon, I'm gonna get it. I have to be careful about that. Nope, not deposit. I want to take, let's just do that, and then I'll deposit. So, let me buy this. Insomnoscope. I guess that prevents falling asleep. Anything else I can afford? Nothing that I want. Well, Graveler Rock. I'll take a Graveler Rock. Alright, let me put my money away now. And then I'll get into the whole story of why it took so long after me getting, like, the story of coming home and why it's taken me so long to actually get back to recording again. Because I did get home, what was Wednesday? Not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before it was, pull up the calendar, the 13th. And I'll explain that whole thing too. Okay. Alright, I have to remember to equip the heel ribbon. So I think it was Mount Steel we were gonna go to this time. What time do we have? We're at 20 minutes, but you know what? It's been a while. I'm gonna make this a little bit longer episode. And I'm not done telling my story, because I rambled. But you know what? I wanted to do it kind of, because I've found in this series I'm generally at a lack of things to talk about, at a loss for things to talk about, and this gives me plenty to talk about. Okay, so, now, getting into the whole story, let me give this first. I don't even have my item on me anyway. Alright, so, okay. Plan was, our flight home, we left on Monday the 11th. Of September, and so the plan was do that, and dang you, Aaron. Plan was do that, and with all the flights, like the whole team that was left would fly from Nanjing to Shanghai, and we each had different amounts of layovers there, and then we'd go our separate ways. A lot of people went kind of right away to, I think it was San Francisco, and then from there would go back to their respective areas. My mom and I personally, for reasons of planning, because of having flights on 2 different airlines and everything, we ended up having a 12-hour layover in Shanghai, which was fine. And then we were gonna do from Shanghai to LA, LA to Orlando, being, you know, closest major airport to home. We have another airport, but Orlando Airport has the most flight options available for us as far as nearby airports. Anyway, so if you have been keeping track with national news or even international news, because about the Hurricane Irma, and I know it's been on some international news because we turned on, like, we found CNN in the hotel, which is one of the only English language channels on TV in China, at least in our hotel, and it was international CNN, so they were covering international stories, but it was almost wall-to-wall 24/7 hurricane coverage. And this was the whole week leading up to where it was going to hit. It hadn't even hit near the US yet. It was like just coming around the Caribbean islands. And it was wall-to-wall coverage. I would have thought there was literally nothing else of interest going on in the entire world other than this hurricane. So anyway, it just coincided to where the hurricane was projected to hit Florida right around the 11th. So right the day when we were starting to come back, the 11th or like the 12th, depending on what part of Florida. And, you know, things kept changing, the path kept changing, but we were keeping an eye out. There were a lot of athletes that were from Florida or nearby, and, you know, everybody was trying to make arrangements, see how their travel would be affected, and so they were trying to make plans. And we weren't sure yet because other airlines had, you know, notified that they canceled flights, because we knew that the Orlando airport, in addition to most or all of the major airports in Florida, were going to be closed around the time we were supposed to get back and fly in there. So, but our flight hadn't canceled yet, so we just kind of were going to do a wait and see approach, knowing that we would probably end up having the flight canceled. So the day comes, we get to LA, and right as we arrive, I turn on my phone and we, you know, both of us get a text. My mom and I get a text. Your flight has been canceled. And so we're like, well, we kind of knew that. So we kind of saw that coming. So we went to the desk after we got our bags and we talked to the people and they said, okay, the earliest flight we get you on is on Wednesday. So this was still Monday because we traveled east. So it was basically like the 11th was one big long day. So it was still like afternoon, evening on the 11th when we got into LA. And so they said, okay, so the earliest flight we can get you is, it was Monday, so the earliest flight is Wednesday morning. Okay. So we have an extra day in LA. So we booked a hotel and we decided, all right, let's just do something fun. Let's go to Universal Studios. So we did. I mean, which was kind of an expense, you know, after we had just traveled internationally, which is already an expense, but, you know, it was one of those things where we're stuck here. We might as well make something fun out of it. So we did. That was fun. And then I got back on Wednesday. So, but anyway, as far as that pertains to my videos, we were already delayed in getting home. So I had planned, at first, the original plan was we would get home early, like 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday, which would give me another day to work on things. So then we got back Wednesday evening instead, so there's like more than 24 hours of delay. It was more like 36 hours later than I would have expected, so that's another day. And so, to add on top of that, I was sick. Like, I started getting sick probably the day before we left China. And I think, it kind of felt like a cold, but I wasn't sure what it was, at first. Like, it seemed sinus related, and and the air was pretty bad in China. Like, after a while, for the most part, you didn't really notice it unless there was really something in the air that smelled bad, but the air was pretty badly polluted, and, there are a decent amount of smokers in China, and smell of garbage, and occasionally, not all the time, and just the general air is not very clean. So I started to get sick, and I thought, well, this is hardly a surprise. And then we're on the long flight from Shanghai to LA, and there's people, you know, sick on the plane, the usual. Of course, the person right in front of me is hacking and sneezing, and I thought, this is lovely. So we get to LA for the day. The day we spend at Universal, I'm kind of sick. I kind of feel like I have a mild cold. It's not quite full-blown, but it's kind of there. I'm aware that it's there, and expecting it to get worse. By that night, I started to think, you know what, that my symptoms feel like they're getting better already. So maybe it wasn't a full-blown thing. I just had a little bit of a sinus issue, and now it's going away now that I'm back in the relatively clean air. LA still is not known for having the best air. Ooh, my belly size increased. But then I get home, you know, on Wednesday. Wednesday night, I'm still feeling pretty good. Then at night, as I start to go to bed, my symptoms kind of come back a little bit, and I thought, okay, not necessarily a big surprise, because I tend to have some sinus issues anyway. There's, like, pollen in Florida, and, you know, sometimes when I go to bed, I don't know if it's my sheets or what, but I get a little stuffy at night sometimes. So I'm not big surprised. But then, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, each day, my symptoms not only are coming back, but seeming to get progressively worse. And, like, I don't even want to describe to you, but basically symptoms that almost felt similar to a couple years ago when I ended up having an upper respiratory infection. So I'm starting to get concerned. I think, well, you know, I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, the day before I'm recording this, Wednesday the 20th. So, you know, if I don't feel better by then, I'll ask my doctor, since I'm going to see him anyway. But anyway, how this translates into, you know, recording, obviously, last week, which is when I intended to start back up my recordings and maybe some streams, I was... Oops, I did not mean to attack you, Hound Hour. I apologize. What? This was an item delivery? Oh, I didn't check what this one was. You're right. Well, let me see if there's a blowback orb on this floor. It's an escape orb. Whoops, I messed up again. I don't know if there was another job. And I think we've already explored this doesn't look like a very large floor, so we might be in trouble here. Whoops. Anyway. So all those plans, you know, to record and potentially stream, and I couldn't do any of it. Because I was sick, and, like, there was one day where, from my sinuses and the congestion got so bad that I could barely talk. I mean, I could, but I didn't really want to, because it was annoying. And, I don't know, just everything went wrong. And so finally, you know, the first couple days back in Florida, I actually slept pretty well. Then the next 2 days, I basically got zero sleep, just from congestion and everything else. Then, on Sunday, I had probably the worst of my symptoms, and I went to bed. It was hard for me to go to bed. I forget what time. I don't think I fell asleep till maybe 2 or so, 1 or 2 in the morning. But then I woke up finally. I look out the window, and it's light out, which actually had been the first time. The windows were no longer boarded shut because we had our windows boarded up for the hurricane, and they were just kind of there for a couple more days. So I looked up and I'm like, oh, the windows aren't boarded up anymore. Well, that's cool. And then I turn on my iPad and look at the time, and I said 2:45, and I didn't look at the AM or PM, so I'm like, it's not light enough for 2:45 in the morning. Did my iPad, like, not connect to the internet, and did the clock freeze? Then I looked at my phone and, like, no, it still says 2:45, and then I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, oh, it's actually 2:45 p.m. I slept for 12 hours. Which, knowing me, I have several years in the past, I have on occasion, just very occasionally, because I don't really get the opportunity to sleep in often, but I have very occasionally been able to sleep maybe 10 hours. The latest I've slept was, like, sleeping till 1, and I think even then would be like I woke up at 6 and fell back asleep until 1. But this was, I'm pretty sure, straight through from, like, 2 a.m. to almost 3 p.m. I slept. I can't recall a single time I've really done that in my life. So it was just everything, the being sick, the jet lag, the release of stress, both physical and mental, from over the course of, Worlds and the whole training leading up to it. All of it just kind of came to a head and collapsed into that 12-hour sleep. And you know what? I guess it helped, because I started, it was the first day, Monday was the first day I started feeling like I was gonna be not sick anymore. So that's my story, and that is why it's taken me until the week after I got home to be able to start recording. Because also, it's Thursday of this week. It took me until Thursday because I had some schoolwork to catch up on. Fortunately, oh, there's a blowback orb! You're like, what, 1 or 2 floors too late? Thank you, game. Thank you so much. I guess now I can go back in the next episode, though. Unless story happens at the beginning of next episode. But yeah, that is my story. It's fun stuff. But, you know what? It gave me some stuff to talk about. So, I won't complain. Not too much. Because, like I said, usually I don't really know what to talk about while I'm exploring these dungeons. There's a little bit of monotony in just the general exploring aspect. Alright, can I throw this white gummy at Asai? Can you eat it? There you go. Alright, now I'm kind of over this cave, because I thought there was one more mission. And there's another blowback orb just to rub salt in the wound, and I am salty, believe you me. I wasn't salty before because, it was on me for not reading the description before I left, but now, just teasing me by throwing 2 blowback orbs on me, the floor or 2 floors after the destination floor, it's just cold. Alright, I guess, I don't know if I missed the other, because I thought there were 2 missions, but I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little story time and a little bit of a longer episode since it has been a while. But yeah, and I just now noticed that I cropped the top screen window there a bit wrong, or I didn't adjust the cropping. So I'm gonna have to fix that for the next episode. But if you like this video, be sure to leave a like. Also, subscribe if you want to become a grunt of Team Eclipse and you're not already. Also, of course, don't forget to check out my channel as well, SweetBananaGaming, because if you like my stuff on here, you'll probably like my stuff on there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team.